What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Alex Sports Talk and Bets. And let's talk about this Trae Young, aka Les Curry. That's why I like to call him Les Curry because he's just a lesser version of Steph Curry, but I digress. I set the tone of the video kind of early this time. But either way, he just got traded to the Washington Wizards. And when he got traded to the Washington Wizards, two different things popped in my head. The number one thing that popped in my head is we all knew that Trae Young was on the trade block, right? Trae Young's been on the trade block really since last year, right? Really around the time De'Aaron Fox was trying to get out of Sacramento. There were rumors about Trae Young going over to San Antonio, but ultimately San Antonio ended up with De'Aaron Fox instead of Trae Young. And then the rumors came back up again strong this year. So this is something they've been trying to do. But what was interesting to me was out of all the teams in the league, Trae Young ended up with the Washington Wizards. Now I understand that they're going to say that that's what he requested, but understand this: that's what he requested of the options available. Let it breathe, run it back. That's what he requested of the options available. He's going to spin it like he just said, I could go anywhere, but I want to go to Washington Wizards. That is not what happened. He got three options, and the best of those three options was the Washington Wizards, which doesn't say a lot. What that says to me is Trae Young's overrated. Now, I've been saying that Trae Young's overrated, but hear me out. I have even more evidence now. The league just confirmed me saying that Trae Young has been overrated because the league basically said, we don't value you enough to shake up our team to get you. Like, those teams that are already in the playoffs, clearly, the league just said none of us thinks Trae Young is the difference between winning a championship and not winning a championship. Now, when you listen to the way some people talk about Trae Young, they try to make him seem like he's one of the top tier elite players in the league. If he was a top tier elite player in the league, people would think trading for him would provide championship level impact, or he could be that missing piece to a championship. Very clearly, none of the solid playoff teams, right, thought that he was the missing piece to push them over the edge. To make matters worse, none of those like fringe playoff teams thought that he was the difference between them being a fringe playoff team, like a playing team, and them being like a top four team competing for a championship either. So the championship contenders didn't think he was going to be the one to push them over the edge to the title. The teams on the fringe didn't think he'd be the one to push them over the edge to championship contender. Then the teams barely making the play and didn't think much of him either. So he ends up at the bottom of the Washington Wizards. That is not good. That is not good at all. Y'all can try to spin it however y'all want. That's not good. That shows he has no value. Now, people get mad when I talk about how Trae Young is overrated, right? People say he has 25 and 10. He averages 25 and 10. How can you average 25 and 10, right, and be ass? I ain't saying he ass. I'm saying he's overrated. Because here's the thing. When I hear people bring up 25 and 10 when it comes to Trae Young, the first thing that pops in my head is you don't watch the games, you just watch the box scores. This is why you don't understand how he's overrated. Because here's the thing. They're empty stats. The 25 and 10 doesn't result in wins. Right? Trae Young was the superstar in Atlanta. Undisputed, right? Number one. The team was built around him. In his era, they struggled to make the playoffs consistently. They spent most of their time being the play-in heroes. They went on that run, which really got him overrated because they eliminated the Knicks, but the Knicks were sorry that year. You had Julius Randle, and then you had your next best player that season was R.J. Barrett, who was only in like his second or third year at the time. And then you had Derrick Rose. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't a very good Knicks team, is my point here. All right? Was not a very good Knicks team, but he beat them. I want to say they beat the Sixers after that. Or did they lose to no, the Celtics knocked them out. Yeah, they beat the Sixers after that, then the Celtics knocked them out. But outside of that one run, not only has he not made a run that deep, he's barely even made the playoffs. He's barely made it. So, all right, you averaging 25 and 12. You shouldn't be struggling to make the playoffs. This is your team. This is the NBA. People talking like this is the NFL. Don't get me wrong. You need a team in the NBA, right, to win a championship. But you shouldn't need a team to get yourself to the playoffs. LeBron going to be in the playoffs every year. Chris Paul's in the playoffs every year. You know what I'm saying? Jordan in the playoffs every year. Kobe in the playoffs every year. Tim Duncan in the playoffs pretty much every year. I can drop down a level. It's still going to be the same thing. Carmelo Anthony in the playoffs every year. Paul George was in the playoffs almost every year. Karl Malone was in the playoffs almost every year. John Stockton was in the playoffs almost every year. I'm just throwing out names, but my point is Trae Young was not. So I don't see how we could put him in that same category. Brunson has been in the playoffs every year since he's been in the shit. He was in the playoffs every year in Dallas. Luka go playoffs every year pretty much. Like I said, I could go down the list. So Trae Young has never provided that type of stability or value to Atlanta, and very clearly, the other owners around the league are saying we don't think he's going to provide that to us either. So he goes to Washington. Everybody's like, okay, he should do great in Washington because he's got Alex Shar, so this is a good thing. From what I heard, this is a rumor. I'm going to just say that. It's just what I heard. I don't know this to be true. It's just what I heard. But from what I heard, Alex Sarr forced his way to Washington because he didn't want to play with Trae Young. Who knows? He's got to play with him now. And I'll say this: if you're a big, because Clint Capella is probably, because that's another thing people bring up about Trae Young. They try to say he didn't have any teammates. Look at his teammates. I mean, look, you had DeJounte Murray, you had Jeff Teague. Right now, he's got Kristaps Porzingis, and people could try to downplay Kristaps Porzingis, but without Kristaps Porzingis, Boston never wins that championship. Never. Right? So you got Kristaps Porzingis. Um, you had DeAndre Hunter. You got Johnson now. Like he's had guys. You had Clint Capella, which at the time Clint Capella was one of the best bigs in the league. Clint Capella was just as much of a problem for the Knicks when the Hawks did beat them as Trae Young was. They was the 1-2 punch, right? So don't tell me he's had nobody. He's had a couple All-Star teammates. He had a couple of really good teammates. He had enough that he should be able to make the playoffs consistently. At least knock one team off. He shouldn't be playing in the play-in and struggling to get in and not even getting in most of the time. That shouldn't be happening. And if it is, yeah, I'm trying to build my team around you. So we'll see. He coming to DC. He'll be surrounded by baddies. Maybe he'll play better. You know, maybe that's what Les Curry needs. Les Curry needs to be surrounded by some baddies. Maybe he'll play better, right? Maybe him and Alex Sarr will click. It'll be similar to what him and Clint Capella did before, but I don't see it. To me, Washington, I'm gonna end the video like this, man. Washington reminds me a lot of the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not talking about the '80s version. I'm talking about the current version. Even anything from 2005 forward version of the Raiders, right? You go there for your career to die. Now you'll get paid, right? But that's like the last stop for you. You go there, it's over. Your swan song plays. That place almost killed Randy Moss. If Randy Moss didn't go from the Raiders to the Patriots, his career would have died over there with the Raiders, right? Why am I saying that? Because that's the same thing with Washington. Washington is one of those places you go, you get a nice little payday. People come see you play for cheap. You know what I mean? Like you get your last big play, you get your last big contract, get to play out your last big contract. Nice city. You know what I mean? Like I understand it, but I'm just saying to you guys, the fact that that's where he went pretty much signifies the last step of, I told y'all he's overrated. He's overrated. Is he complete ass? Nah, he's not. He's not like completely sorry, right? But he's not nowhere near as good as y'all want to make him out to be. Like, there's levels to this game, right? You got your Tyrese Halliburton's, your Jalen Brunson's, your Donovan Mitchell's, Cade Cunningham's. Then way down here you got Trae Young. Way down there you got Trae Young. And just because when he does make a big play, or he has a big game, makes a spectacle of himself, you let that fool see y'all let that fool you into thinking he's a good player. Y'all be doing the same thing with DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's mid, but every time he make a big play, he make a big spectacle, or it looks sexy. The play itself looks like it's like a long play, right? It's the same thing when you're talking about Trae Young. He'll hit a half court shot or like 3 threes in a row and it looks sexy and you remember it, right? But at this time, they're already down 20. If he gets hot, maybe they'll come back. If he doesn't, they get him blown out. And that's what you're dealing with Trae Young. And most of the time, he ain't hot and they ain't coming back. Most of the time, they're just going to lose. That's why I don't be making the playoffs. This is not me hating. This is me being honest. He's overrated. With his play style, it's fun to watch, right? You'll win a couple of games you're not supposed to, but you're not going to do anything. If you're lucky, you may sneak into the playoffs, but most of the time, you're just flat out not going to make it. He's going to have his 25 and 10. That's going to come along with like 40 to 50 losses every year. That's just what's going to happen. It's not a dominant 25 and 10. You got to actually watch the games. It's really not. He don't control the pace of the game. He just dribbled the life out the ball, the pass in the last 4 seconds. You gotta shoot it at that point. Then when you make it, he gets an assist. But it's not a real. It's not a real assist. But either way, that's my thoughts on it. I think Trae Young is going there for his career to die. Quite frankly, that's what I think is going to happen. I think he'll have he'll have a good rest of this season, maybe a good next season. And then that's about it. It's a swan song. I could be wrong. Again, maybe him and Alex Sarr hit it off, right? But I don't see it happening. That's my thoughts on that, man. I think that they sent him there. I think that's the only place that, like I said, his options was that bad that he decided to go there. I think that's about it. But we'll see what happens. He's already only averaging 19, so again, I think he'll have a good year next year, and after that, it's just downhill from there. He'll probably be like a 14 and 6 player, something like that. Maybe good coming off your bench because he gives you nothing on defense. I haven't even gotten into how he gives you nothing on defense. He gives you absolutely nothing on defense. So it's like if he's not hot, again, if he's not hot, you're gonna lose by like 20 points. If he's hot, you got a chance to win. Doesn't even guarantee you're gonna win. You just got a chance to win. It's just not something you want to build around. You know, it's like if Steph Curry was missing the chromosome, you would get Trae Young. Either way, I'm Alex and I am out. Peace.